again, everybody. Barry Hyatt here in Scottsville at the UK Extension Office with my good friend Janet Johnson. And Janet, you're talking today about one of my favorite foods in the wintertime.
Oh, a yam or a sweet potato. And
yes.
And they are two different little root vegetables that we'll call them, but they are the best at this time of the holidays because we have an abundance of yams or sweet potatoes,
Sure.
and they are really, really value purchases. Very cheap per pound right now, and they do last, so it's time to stock up for throughout the holiday season.
Yes.
It is.
Well,
it is.
And they're smelling great already, so we're really excited about bringing this recipe for sure, aren't we?
We're doing today what we call yummy sweet potato casserole, and you may say, well, I already have a yummy sweet potato casserole. That's my grandmother's, my mother's. But what we're going to show you today is how to kind of marry up maybe a traditional casserole, but with a few substitutions, okay, to keep the flavor, but yet to kind of, again, take down some of those calories, you know, that we can save for some other things, but to give you kind of a marriage of apples and sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
I mean, other great fall fruits. It just doesn't get any better than all the different varieties of apples that we have right now, and experimenting with those. So what I've done, Barry, this recipe for the yummy sweet potato casserole, as with most, is going to call for 6 medium sweet potatoes.
Okay.
Now, you get to the grocery or you get to the farmer's market or your roadside market, do they have 6 medium sweet potatoes? Well, no, but they're larger. So what I did, I bought 4 large sweet potatoes.
Okay.
Okay, so there's the equation that Janet is using, because eventually this is going to go in a 9x13 casserole.
Okay.
So it's going to be a little bit more, but so you've got to kind of play a little bit with your casserole to get the right amount. So I use 4 large sweet potatoes.
Okay.
I peel those, and then I cubed those and just covered them with water and let them get tender.
Okay.
You might say, oh, I could just open a can. Well, you can open a can, but the flavor of a fresh sweet potato is wonderful. And that makes all the difference in the world for an extra touch to a holiday dish. So I really urge you to take just a little moment, and you can do that ahead of time. Like I did these yesterday, put them in the refrigerator after I mashed them up, and I'm pulling them out for us to show the casserole assembly today. So it's something you don't have to do all of that at once. Do it in stages and get it ready. And we'll talk about how that we could get this casserole ready, and before we put the topping, we could freeze the casserole.
Okay.
Okay, now we'd want to kind of put the liner, you could do it in the dish, but you may want to line it, take it out, and then have it ready to thaw. But there's all kinds of things you can do ahead of time. So not only for the Thanksgiving holiday here in November, but also the Christmas holidays or anything year-round like that. Let's get to it. Okay, so what I've done, as I said, I peeled those 4 large sweet potatoes. I put those in cubes, about an inch cube, covered them with water, just let them kind of simmer until tender, drained them, and then used a potato masher. And I just use a hand masher. Now, if you want to get your food processor out and make it super smooth, you can do that
as well.
Okay? But I like to just kind of do it by hand, so they got a little bit of texture to them.
Not totally smooth.
Not totally smooth, not a puree. You know, just to give them a little bit of that texture. So I mashed these with the potato masher, and I did it while they were hot after I drained them, and they mashed really quick.
Good deal.
You know, super quick. So then I stored them in the refrigerator, and I pulled them out right here. Now what we're going to do now, Barry, we're going to add a great secret ingredient. I don't know if you use maple syrup.
I don't think I ever have, actually.
Okay, in your sweet potato casserole. Well, we're going to put a little bit in it, and by little, I'm talking about 1/4 cup, between 1/4 and 1/3, depending on the amount of sweet potato you have. So we're going to kind of add 1/4 cup is a general amount. If you want to add a tablespoon or more to make that really smooth, think about doing that. But this is a great secret ingredient, and I love to use pure maple syrup. Now we can use the pancake syrups that we know, but these are often made by some of our farmers that draw down on the maple trees in the area. So it's a good time to experiment with some local maple syrup. Now this came from the store, but it's very easy to find. You know, my good friend Greg Drake, who's the extension agent in Butler County, does his own maple syrup, and lots of others do. And you may know someone down in Lafayette that may do that too. So we're adding a little bit of maple syrup, and then we're going to come back And we're going to later on add some traditional brown sugar with that.
Okay.
And then we're going to add a couple of eggs to this. And then we're going to add a little bit of, you can add salt or no salt. That's up to you. Okay. But then we're going to come back and we're going to look at the next secret ingredient. And notice I'm kind of stammering. I'm looking at my butter and trying to make sure that I don't add that here. But we add it with the topping. A lot of people add the butter with the potatoes. And here's where, if you will get some Greek vanilla yogurt, this is the substitute for the butter. For this casserole. It adds a little bit of texture to it, and I think it's a great secret ingredient. And the taste is great. It is. You're not going to miss all the extra butter in the casserole, so this is something you could do. Now, in a formal recipe that we've done on this program with a recipe called Sweet Potato Crisp, we've added cream cheese.
I remember that, sure.
Yes. Now, the thing about that is that it's the texture thing. So if you like that stiffer texture that you get with the cream cheese, this is your substitute for the butter. Okay? But if you're kind of like me and you like more of that creamy texture, and the vanilla adds a little bit of flavoring, a little more flavoring to it. I love this vanilla yogurt, and that is in our new yummy sweet potato casserole recipe. So think about substituting your butter again with that. Now I have a spatula, but I also hold that potato masher up together to be able to do it. And now you could add some secret ingredients with a little bit of vanilla extract, even though you're adding a little bit of vanilla with the yogurt, okay? So you don't have to add as much, between a fourth to a half tablespoon or, teaspoon, excuse me, up. And to do that, and then you are basically ready to go. So if you want, you can add cinnamon. You can add up to a tablespoon of cinnamon. You can add a little more salt if you want to do that. So the spices you can vary, but the main ingredient we want you to kind of see here is, of course, this ingredient, okay? And so you simply mix that up and get it going and get it ready for the bowl. Then what I want to do is kind of show you what we're going to do, because we're going to end up in just a moment. We'll take a little bit of a break. We'll come back and we're going to assemble this thing. But I've gone ahead and chopped up 2 apples. Now, do you remember the apple contest that we had?
Sweet Tango, and I still buy them to this day.
I know, aren't they good?
They're awesome. They're the best apples out there.
They are great apples. So this is the time to use your favorite apple. And those particularly that the Sweet Tango has a little bit of that sweetie sour,
which I love,
but beautiful taste along, if you like Fuji. If you want a less sweet apple, you can go with a traditional Granny Smith that's often used in pies. But this is a part of the topping. And this is what I love about marrying up the 2 recipes, because right before we put the topping on, when we assemble in just a moment, you add the apples before the traditional topping. That gives you more fruit and more flavor, and it's wonderful. So we'll chop these apples, but we're going to take a quick break as we begin to assemble this, then we're going to come back and get it ready for the oven. So,
all right, stay tuned for that. That sounds like a plan for sure.
Great. And we're back, and for the sake of the recipe today, I'm going to go ahead and use the cinnamon, and I'm going to go ahead and use the salt. But that, again, is up to you in the appropriate amounts, and you can certainly leave those off. And I'm even going to go ahead and put a little bit of brown sugar in to the level of about a couple of tablespoons, and that, of course, depends on the amount of potato. So we're going to get this all mashed together. So we continue to mash, and that helps to blend these together, or you could use a spatula, Barry, whatever you like, and kind of mix and get that all together. But this makes a great, great sweet potato casserole base, and like we said, it does eliminate a lot of the butter, but adds great flavor with the Greek yogurt.
And when you put the cinnamon in there and the brown sugar, you can just smell it.
You can.
It smells so nice.
Oh, it does, it does. But that's up to guys, and some guys might want to use pumpkin pie spice, which is a combination, or they may want to use allspice and nutmeg, whatever you want to use, you can use. Or if you want it to be just really kind of a straight up recipe, you can do whatever you want with that. Now, we've got the basic mixture ready. And I'm going to go ahead and take a 9 to 13 dish, and I'm going to spray that. This recipe doesn't call for that, but I just like it just in case. It makes easier serving like that. Now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this into a 9 by 13 dish that, again, we've sprayed with a nonstick spray, and we're going to spread this evenly out. And once again, if you wanted to do this ahead of time, Barry, you could line your 9 by 13 dish with aluminum foil, okay? And then you can spray the aluminum foil.
Sure.
And then put your sweet potatoes into the aluminum foil, and then you would put this in the freezer, of course. Let that freeze, and then lift the aluminum foil out and seal it up, or you can seal it ahead. But that allows you to lift, and then you can thaw it in the refrigerator.
Okay.
Okay. So you don't, if you want the less bulky storage of not having a dish. So I'm going to set this over here with you. I'll let you hold all the dirty dishes, okay? And remember the apple that we talked about earlier. And if you want to do those apples ahead of time and have them in the refrigerator ready, do an ascorbic acid. One brand name that you can purchase is called Fruit Fresh. But that is called ascorbic acid. So if you see that in bulk, it's the same thing. Okay? So you can sprinkle that, and look how nice those apples stayed, and they've been out at room temperature. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a layer of these chopped apples over the sweet potatoes before we add the final topping. And how many apples, you might say? The recipe calls for 2 medium, but think again, you want to have enough apple to kind of cover, you know, your casserole. So there we go. And so that's going to make it a little prettier too, and add a lot of flavor. Let's get back to the topping now. We all know butter and brown sugar, right? Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to kind of mix up what I call a traditional topping of oats, brown sugar.
Okay.
I mean, it's just good stuff. Some people will use just butter and brown sugar for a topping and add some things, but oats, again, add that great fiber, great crunchy texture, make it kind of like a crisp. So we just want to get all of that kind of mixed together. And I tend to use fingers here. Clean fingers are a good thing, of course. And we did that. Okay, so we just kind of mix that up. And here's where we're going to add a little bit of other things. Remember maple syrup.
Yes, more maple syrup.
Let's do about a tablespoon of maple syrup in this to add some flavor. Okay.
Sounds like a winner to me.
Really good, a repetition of flavor. And then we're going to add about 3 tablespoons of butter. Now this was a stick of butter, so you can see we're not going to use all of it, just to moisten it. And then we're going to take that topping, and here again, you could use some cinnamon, you could use other things. Now, I went ahead and a little cheated and added that to the mixture, okay? So when you saw that brown sugar and you saw the salt, I mean, you didn't see those for TV. But we've got those in there, but that's up to you about what you like. And then I'm going to stir in some pecans. And I love pecans that come from Georgia this time of year, Barry. I mean, they're great, fresh pecans. Our Allen County homemakers have a selling project. They have a partnership with Shermer Pecans. And so they sell as a nonprofit. So just saying that that's out there with many nonprofits, that they're getting those fresh pecans from Georgia this time of year. So look for those. And of course, we have those here at the Extension office if people would like to have some. Or they can order whatever. But so we've added those nice coarsely chopped pecans, and isn't that lovely?
Really nice.
And then we would be ready to put this topping on our casserole, and we would bake that at 325 until the topping is crunchy. And I, just by the magic of TV, am able to show you a wonderful finished product.
Finished product,
It is. And it's lovely. You can see the little baked apples there that give flavor. You can see the pecans, the oats and the brown sugar. This is just a great treat for the holiday season.
Certainly.
So take your traditional one, make it a little healthier with flavor, and add those apples for an extra slant.
Yeah, Sounds awesome. Now, just
Yes.
out of curiosity, what kind of apples did you use in this one?
I used a Fuji.
Fuji, okay.
The Sweet Tangos were a little more expensive for our demonstration today.
Yeah.
So I used a Fuji that we had on hand
Which
here.
are good apples
They
as well.
are good apples too. But Barry's right. The Sweet Tangos won our apple contest.
They are. They're
did.
great. Well, hey guys, if you want this recipe, oh so easy to get, you can get it in one of two ways. You can email me at North Central. My email address there is barry.hyatt@nctc.com, or simply go to our website. The address is www.nctc.com. We'll make sure the recipe is on there for you. And Janet, I'll tell you what, you're right. I mean, as we tape this show, Thanksgiving will be past us.
It will,
but
holidays
at least,
are coming.
At least for a few days anyway. But the thing about it is, like you say, it's a great holiday dish regardless.
It's a great comfort food throughout the winter months. Perfect. And sweet potatoes are very, very affordable and store well in a cool place. So stock up, have those in January, maybe February, and celebrate.
Most certainly.
Yes.
Well, thanks so much for your help on this today.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your time.
Wonderful.
And thank you guys for watching. Take care. Have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you back here again real soon.